I didn't even have the headset on. One of those days already. Well, my tooth's calmed down a little bit. Been chit chatting with mom and dad, figuring out what's going on. And it looks like um, today's lunch date was canceled due to one, mom needing to go in early, two, the U-Haul being ridiculous. But they're working on that. I'm not going over that information. Monetary stuff is not, well, monetary stuff that is not mine. I do not share. I will tell you though, anytime that anything is talked about, be certain everything that is done is legal. We're not sitting here going out and robbing banks or nothing. Okay. I'm gonna drag this back on the main screen so I can see it better. Or I could just get those damn blankets put up. I need to anyhow, because tomorrow night will be the night that I'm without power. And I need to be able to keep the warmth on. So I'll get it set up over here, get the video running, and then get blankets put up. Yes, I know deny is spelled wrong. That's something I watch on my own time. When I'm not bringing news coverage. Brian.
He needs to get his act together, and our representatives here in Iowa need to stop following his lead. I'm not voting Republican again.
Did you ever vote for him?
First time around, and he did a good job, but then he got stupid.
What does that mean?
It means that he just changed, and it's all about him. He thinks he's God, and he's gonna take over the world. He needs to get his act together, and our representatives here in.
What about impeaching Kristi Noem?
Well, I mean, that's a House decision. If that comes to us in the Senate, I'll gladly be able to try it. I think it's ridiculous that someone like Kristi Noem just went out right away and basically called, this poor, victim a terrorist, a violent terrorist. That right there is impeachable. The fact that she didn't wait to see what the video that was coming out automatically said that this man was brandishing a weapon, which we now know is not true. She lied about a citizen to justify his murder, and that is not leadership. The president should ask for her resignation, but if not, I do think the House should impeach.
We've seen a lot. What about impeaching Kristi?
We've got a letter from Attorney General Pam Bondi making several demands, I guess you would call them, regarding sanctuary cities, regarding fraud and voter rolls. your response to that, and is there anything you can do to meet the Trump administration, at least part of the way, to try to turn this temperature down?
Well, first of all, it's not a serious attempt, and the Attorney General sent that in. Again, I would thank the local folks and Commissioner Snell. Thank you to you and your team over there. In that letter, they talked about, you need to hand people over who are in your jails. They're taking credit for people that we've had in jail for a long time. We always hand them over, and the commissioner very clearly. So they're lying. They're lying. This has nothing to do with fraud, as the Attorney General said. They're not sending us forensic accountants, and these are things that have been we're dealing with now and have been for quite some time. So look, it's not a serious attempt to get at this. The way to fix this is get these folks out of here. We've continued to work with them. They asked us for these numbers. We provided them. We continue to show they're not serious. And look, I think everybody understands what the last request was, totally unrelated to anything on the voter files. This is, again, as the Attorney General said, Donald Trump telling everybody that the election was rigged, who started all this nightmare for America. Has nothing to do with it. And I would just give a pro tip to the Attorney General. There's 2 million documents in the Epstein files we're still waiting on. Go ahead and work on those.
Donald Trump is losing it as senior officials in his administration are starting to flip on each other. They're turning against each other in public. So earlier yesterday, you had Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem blame Donald Trump's senior aide Stephen Miller for telling her that Alex Pretty was going to be involved in a massacre, and that's why he was murdered by Donald Trump's Border Patrol Gestapo. We all know that what Kristi Noem said was absolutely false and defamatory about Alex Jeffrey Pretty, and she has been widely condemned for her statements. But she says it was Stephen Miller's fault, that Stephen Miller wrote that script for her, and she was just reading his words. Meanwhile, Stephen Miller is saying that's not really what happened. He said that he was told false information by the Border Patrol and by Greg Bovino and others from the Trump regime who were on the ground in Minneapolis. And now Stephen Miller is saying that a violation of protocol likely took place, resulting in the murder of Alex Jeffrey Pretty. That is a stunning admission by Stephen Miller to publicly state that there were likely mistakes made, but he's blaming the Border Patrol and throwing Greg Bovino under the bus. And meanwhile, you have MAGA Republican state officials attacking Stephen Miller's wife attacking MAGA Republican state officials, and all of this is playing out very, very publicly. So let me just share with you what Stephen Miller said. Miller says that there was a possible breach of protocol before the Alex Pretty shooting. Specifically, here's how CNN reported. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says officials are evaluating why Customs and Border Protection agents in Minneapolis may not have been following proper protocol before the fatal shooting of VA nurse Alex Pretty. In a statement to CNN, Miller said the White House had provided clear guidance to DHS that the extra personnel that had been sent to Minnesota for force protection should be used for conducting fugitive operations to create a physical barrier between the arrest teams and the disruptors. We are evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following that protocol. And then Miller also said that he was being given information by people on the ground that he then passed on. So he's blaming Border Patrol agents for it as well. Meanwhile, you have Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, attack a Florida state senator, Eliana Garcia, and Katie Miller says Eliana was fired from the Department of Homeland Security in Trump's first term because she failed to show up for work. And this follows Eliana Garcia putting out a statement saying that Stephen Miller should be fired and that the Trump regime needs to immediately stop their ICE and Border Patrol invasions of cities, and that Trump and MAGA are going to lose big in the midterms because of their attacks on the Latino and migrant community. The New York Times reported Latinas for Trump co-founder warns immigration will cost GOP the midterms. State Senator Ileana Garcia, who is a Cuban American, said the fatal shooting of Alex Preti by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis was abhorrent. So then Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, attacks her, and then Ileana Garcia responds and says, Katie Miller, invite me to your podcast so we can have a candid discussion how you labeled your then boyfriend, referring to Stephen Miller, a racist when you were upset that he treated you poorly, and me as a mere token Hispanic for the administration. Let's discuss who was responsible for the leaks in the White House and how you helped carve the floor out from under then Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen. While all of this is taking place, though, you know what's going on at Mar-a-Lago? Just take a look right here as the Patriot Takes account writes, as the country reeled from the murder of Alex Preti by federal agents in Minneapolis on Saturday, Trump's Mar-a-Lago club threw a party. Guests were greeted by women in showgirl outfits and sipped champagne by the pool, watching entertainers floating in giant bubbles spread their legs. Midas Touch account said the following: they're having eyes wide shut parties nonstop at Mar-a-Lago these days. Remember that furry party they had a few weeks back? So as Donald Trump's regime senior officials are out there attacking each other, throwing each other under the bus, Kristi Noem saying it's not my fault, it's Miller's fault. Miller saying it's not my fault, it's Bovino's fault. All of this is going down. Donald Trump is having these bizarre Mar-a-Lago ghoulish parties. Meanwhile, you have MAGA Republican senators going on TV like MAGA Republican Senator Lindsey Graham. Here's what he had to say about Stephen Miller. He's trying to support Stephen Miller here. Here, play this clip.
I hope he can make a deal. As to Stephen Miller, to my colleagues who believe that you can convince Donald Trump that Stephen Miller is a liability for him, good luck with that. When this clock strikes 12 on the Trump era, there'll be a few people walking out the door with Donald Trump. Stephen Miller will be in that group. So I want everybody to know on the Republican side that Stephen Miller is not the problem. Sanctuary cities is the problem.
And so this is a war playing out. It's playing out before our very eyes as the Trump regime continues to collapse, as Donald Trump's approval hits new lows. Take a look at this. Down, down, down goes the U.S. dollar, tumbling to a fresh 4-year low after Donald Trump claims the dollar's doing great. But look, it looks like Donald Trump's poll numbers. Down, down, down go Donald Trump's poll. Trump's overall approval rating right now falls to 38%. Okay, record low, worst ever in modern presidential history. Trump's immigration approval has now fallen to a record low of 39%, and the majority of Americans by far believe that Donald Trump's ICE operations have gone too far and need to stop immediately. And by the way, most Americans believe that ICE should be abolished. Now, as Donald Trump continues to lose it, as his regime is turning on each other, turning against each other. We know that Donald Trump had that disastrous trip to Iowa yesterday where he gave that bizarre speech in front of that crowd. Remember what Donald Trump said? Donald Trump said yesterday at the speech that China will be sending him a bill very shortly to sign. Donald Trump's demented. He thinks, he's cognitively and physically declining before our eyes. Donald Trump believes that China is sending him a bill? He thinks China is Congress? What? Here, play this clip.
And China will be sending me a bill very shortly supporting year-round E-15 to my desk very quickly, and I will sign it without delay. Okay?
Oh.
I hope you remember us for the midterms.
This follows Donald Trump confusing Iceland with Greenland and saying he wants to invade Iceland when he was trying to say he wants to invade Greenland, which in and of itself is completely insane. Also yesterday, Donald Trump said this: it's abhorrent. And as California Governor Gavin Newsom said, something is really wrong, deeply wrong with this man. Donald Trump, while talking about Alex Pretty, said that he feels even worse about Renee Good being murdered by his regime because her parents were Trump fans. Play this clip.
It's pretty unusual, but nobody knows when they saw the gun, how they saw the gun, everything else. Bottom line, it was terrible. Both of them were terrible. The other was terrible, too. And I'm not sure about his parents, but I know her parents were big Trump fans. Makes me feel bad anyway. But, I mean, I guess you could say even worse. They were tremendous Trump people, Trump fans. And, you know, the daughter was, she was, I don't know if you could say radicalized, maybe not. I don't know. But I hate to see it. I hate to see that.
Oh, and then as you know, with the dollar tanking, Donald Trump says the dollar is doing exceptional. Let's play this clip.
Are you comfortable, Mr. President, with the current value of the dollar? Do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar, look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great. You know, it's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
You want to see it decline more, Mr. President?
And then Donald Trump continued to tell people in Iowa and throughout the country that inflation is solved, everything is good, and Americans are rich. When we know how much people are struggling right now. Let's play this clip.
Literally, it just shows how hard it is to clean up, even after you close it. It shows the price that we paid under Joe Biden.
It's the hardest thing when you think of it. You know, inflation we've solved. It's done. We have it good. Where prices are coming way down. They were just saying in Iowa, the fuel is $1.95. Did you hear that? Somebody said $1.85, but it was $3.50, $4.50 just a year and a half ago. You look at eggs, you look at groceries, it's all down. Everything's come down. Do you notice they don't mention affordability anymore? That's like an old-fashioned word. They brought up affordability.
I also want to mention that Donald Trump's statements, his words, continue to incite violence as he rants and raves like a lunatic on social media over and over again and continues to attack Ilhan Omar, the Somali congresswoman of Somali descent, congresswoman from Minnesota, and he accuses her of all of these things. Donald Trump's terrorist cells, his radicalized extremist goons, listen to this stuff. And yesterday, Ilhan Omar, during a speech that she was given during a town hall, she was attacked by a Trump
think you're
supporter
saying her name right, bro.
who used a syringe to try to, lunge at her, and he sprayed her with some unknown substance. Look at this syringe. We have video of what went down as Congresswoman Omar was charged at by a man. Here, play this clip.
Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. Fucking asshole. I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh my God, he sprayed something on her.
I need a napkin to know nothing.
Here's what she told CNN afterwards. Let's play this clip.
Representative Omar, are you okay?
You know, I'm gonna go figure if I am, but I feel okay. I feel that it is important for people, whether they are in elected office or not, to allow these people to intimidate us, to make us not fight for our constituents and for the country we love. And as I said, I've survived war, and I'm definitely going to survive intimidation and whatever these people think they can throw at me, because I'm built that way.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
And then all of the state regime media and all the Donald Trump sycophants basically tried to mock Ilhan Omar for what happened and saying this is not a big deal. It was like silly string. Why do people care? This is what state regime media does. They try to normalize these attacks. I mean, horrific. Let's play this clip.
And I just got a notice from Ilhan Omar, who just posted actually a short time ago, saying that she's a survivor and not going to let this agitator interrupt her, and she'll continue doing her work. So it's unknown what that substance is, but apparently she is okay tonight. Craig?
Well, we're glad about that. Let's not overdo it there, Elon Omar. She's a survivor. It looked to me like silly string, which we used to play with back in the day. Well, Joe Moeller, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Finally, I want to share this
it
with
didn't.
you as well, to show you as the Trump regime continues its cover-up.
Looked like silly
This
string.
right
Tell me you don't
here
know what
is the
water
woman
traveling through
who
the air looks like.
recorded Alex Pretty being murdered by Donald Trump's Gestapo. And she had never been contacted by anyone in the Trump regime. No federal prosecutors at all, no FBI agents, no one from the federal government contacted her. She's been in communication with state investigators who are doing their job. Of course they would reach out to her. But this just shows you the extent of the Trump regime cover-up. Let's play this clip.
Have you been contacted by anyone from the federal government? FBI?
Nope. No, I have
Border
not.
Patrol, Homeland Security?
I do have a legal team now who are fielding much of that, and I am no longer accessible in those ways.
I talked to your attorney this morning. She said she had not received any outreach from the FBI or anybody from the federal government.
I do not think they have my name yet. Obviously, they will.
You've given testimony to state investigators.
Yes, yes.
Do you have confidence in a federal investigation?
No. No, I do not. I have faith in various representatives throughout our country who are trying to do the right thing and make sure that justice is served. I have faith in our local government in Minnesota. I think they are wanting to make sure to protect us and investigate it thoroughly, but they are trying to block that from happening. They wouldn't even let the investigative team come to the crime scene. I mean, their goal is to protect themselves and to spin stories.
It's incredible to me, though, that 4 days after this shooting, you have not been contacted by anybody from the FBI or the federal government. Right. What does that tell you?
That they're protecting themselves and they don't care about the truth of what happened.
Now, I'm going to do a whole other video this morning on the Trump's cover-up of the Epstein files. But Donald Trump's DOJ, I should just mention it here, they made a filing before Judge Engelmeyer and Judge Berman in the Southern District of New York Federal Court, where they stated that they're not giving any time limits to themselves. They'll produce documents when they want to, and they say that they've been involved in redactions of millions of documents. Millions of documents, they say, are being redacted. Check the video that I'm going to do this morning on. I'll do a video in about an hour and a half on it. Check back. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers.
New Midas merch. Head to store.midastouch.com today and get yourself the best pro-democracy gear and show your support. That's store.midastouch.com.
Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. Fucking asshole. I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh my God, he sprayed something on her.
I need
Another viewing of it.
Breaking news, it was just announced that the two officers involved in the shooting in Minneapolis the other day, the shooting of Alex Pretty, have been placed on leave, so we will get into that. In regular news, like Thanos, Trump believes he's inevitable, but that don't make it true. We're watching in real time as his administration's catastrophic failure in Minnesota delivers a powerful blow to his credibility and his popularity. In short, we're watching him begin to wave a white flag in Minnesota a bit, and we should unpack how it happened and how it informs the way you persuade those in your life to abandon him. In the latter half of the show, we're going to talk to a former ICE official under George W. Bush and Obama. Many have tried to say that what's happening now is no different than what prior administrations did with ICE. You've been seeing this in your social media feed. You've been hearing it from your conservative friends. So we're going to go to the source and learn exactly what's what as far as that goes. Welcome back to the podcast for the 54% of Americans who regularly vote for progress in every election and want to convince their friends and family members to join our majority. This is Majority 54.
Well, Jason, with the good killing, there's conduct that happened before the shooting that is inappropriate and worthy of examination. There's the shooting and killing itself, and then there's the official reaction to it. And just like with the good shooting, the official reaction is in some ways a really important place to start because it shows that no matter what charitable
Don't like these
interpretation you want
words.
to give
Good
to
shooting.
some of these events, which this one is
No such
very
thing as a
hard to
good
find such a
shooting.
thing. I would say as hard or even harder than for good.
It's only a good
the
shot.
way the administration handled the aftermath of this, I think, is worthy of examination. And let's start with CNN put together a helpful mashup of Kirsty Nome and Bovino, both talking about
you
this
shouldn't
killing
be talking
right
about a
after
good
that.
shot in a civilian space.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
Resisted, fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers.
An agent fired defensive shots. Medics were on the scene immediately.
Delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage.
Where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement.
This individual went and impeded their law enforcement operations, attacked those officers, had a weapon on him and dozens of rounds of ammunition, wishing to inflict harm on these officers, brandishing like that and impeding their work that they were doing.
If either of these public officials had an ounce of decency, they would call up Alex Brady's parents and apologize.
Damn right.
Yeah, I mean, you know what stuck out to me? I mean, obviously, they're reading from literally the same hymnal. But the other thing that stuck out to me there that I hadn't noticed in previous viewings was that they both said it caused an agent to fire defensive shots. When it turns out 2 agents actually fired. And so, I mean, so they were even lying about that at the time.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is unbelievable, and I think what we found out from Axios is that their talking points were came straight from Stephen Miller himself, which is something we'll get to. There have been reactions from all across the spectrum here, starting with Rand Paul, who said local police routinely put officers involved in deadly shootings on administrative lead until an independent investigation is concluded. That should happen immediately. I can't recall ever hearing a police chief immediately describing the victim as a domestic terrorist or would-be assassin. For calm to be restored, an independent investigation is the least that should be done. So obviously you just mentioned that breaking news is that they have been put on leave. I think there are a couple of problems here. We still don't know the names of these people. At least maybe they released that when they announced that they were on leave, but up until this past hour, we didn't know their names. The woman who shot this video was on CNN yesterday, said that she hadn't been contacted by federal investigators. And the reason why this matters is when we don't know their names for at least a day, 2, 3, 4 days, they're not on leave. They can coordinate with each other. They can get their stories straight with each other and whatever Trump administration officials are trying to coach them. And they could scrub their social media of anything that could bring scrutiny. Like, Lord knows what kind of coordination, collusion, conspiracies are going on behind the scenes. That's why you need to know the names of these people immediately. Never mind the fact that local law enforcement should be given the right to investigate this as well.
Yeah, I mean, they have done everything they can to prevent local law enforcement from investigating it. And Rand Paul is exactly right. Like, that is absolutely standard protocol in any police shooting, even if it is a police shooting where there's no reason to think that anything was done in any way other than appropriate. Folks are pulled off the job right away. I mean, for one thing, they're pulled off the job often for counseling, certainly for debriefing, and in this case, was just keep them out there. Nothing's changed. I mean, which honestly is how you would regard it if they were deployed on a foreign battlefield.
Correct.
Like it would be, oh, okay, we got in a scrap, we're still doing the job, and that is indicative of how these folks see this operation in Minneapolis. They think that they are conducting a counterinsurgency in a foreign on a foreign battlefield.
Well, I could go through any number of clips of people breaking down this video, but I'm deliberately picking a fairly far right commentator just to show you how obvious it is to anybody who's even attempting to think clearly what happened here in this video. Let's go to Glenn Beck, who I think is making his first appearance on this podcast.
This is compelling video because what this BBC reporter is saying is true. It's absolutely true. He is getting in between him, the police, and somebody else the police are shoving. He is only holding a phone. He is down on the ground. He is resisting arrest, but his hands are down on the ground. His head is down on the ground. Then another agent reaches over on top of the other agents who are closest to him on the ground, reaches into his back where he sees an exposed gun, pulls the gun out, and then walks away with the gun. So he's no longer armed unless he has two guns, and they don't claim that he had two guns, only one. And pulls it out and walks away. Right after that, somebody yells, gun, 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 gun. That's when the police officer fires at him. Now, the other police officer did not know that somebody reached in and took his gun. It might have been somebody who was saying gun, might have been saying it because they saw the other guy, because he's not marked as a federal agent, the other guy pull the gun out and walking there with a gun. So somebody might have seen him with a gun and said, gun, gun, gun. All the cops think that it's Preddy, and they shoot him. Okay. This is not something that you deal with as, an 8-year-old. This is a conversation for adults to have. And I'm not hearing the adults. First of all, what Noam said is not true. He didn't approach. If you want to say technically he approached carrying a 9mm, he did, but it was holstered and in his back. And you have a right to carry a gun at a protest. I don't think that makes you smart, but it does. It is perfectly legal and constitutionally protected.
I don't think that makes you smart, coming from the idiots that were doing it like crazy.
You know what strikes me about this actually is that by obfuscating the way they have, and actually more than that, by acting as though they knew exactly what happened and claiming that, that Alex Preddy was a domestic terrorist and was there to inflict damage and do all these things, by making that the official story out of the gate, what they have done is they have actually deprived these officers of a defense being available to them in trial if they get that far, which is, there's a couple of ways to look at this, and I'm not in any way defending the officer or the agents, but there are a couple of scenarios that also could have happened here, right? First of all, as Glenn Beck points out in that clip, somebody's yelling gun. Now, if you're at trial and you're wanting to say, look, yes, I was the agent who shot him, but somebody was yelling gun, and I acted, and like if you're going for a manslaughter conviction instead of a murder conviction, for instance, they've deprived them of the opportunity to make that argument, because what they have been publicly saying, or at least made it a lot more difficult to make that argument, what they've been publicly saying is that the account of these officers was that this guy was violent toward them and they were acting in self-defense.
That's going to keep it warmer here, too.
The other possibility that nobody has mentioned here and has come up in my conversations with, gun enthusiasts and hobbyists who I talk to, is that, the weapon that they pulled off of Alex Preddy is a model of Sig Sauer that has had some issues with its firing pin and with negligent discharges. And it is possible, you can't tell from the video, that when the other agent pulled that weapon, it is possible that one of the first rounds that was fired came out of that weapon. Now, it would be easy to know. They could simply see whether or not there was a round that had been discharged from it. But if that's the case, they've also deprived them of making that case in court. The ability to say, somebody yelled gun and then I heard a shot. Now, should that exonerate them? I would say no, but through their incompetence, they have deprived them of a potential defense in court of these guys that they're supposedly interested in protecting.
Well, I think of the many questions we should ask is who are these ICE officials and how are they trained? And I went down a rabbit hole this morning. I think you mentioned to me this woman, Laura Jadid, who did a story about how she went to an ICE hiring fair and just wanted to see how far she can get by not lying. Like she wasn't giving a false identity or anything. She's a known reporter with a very recognizable name. And she got all the way to the point where she got an offer. And her conclusion was these people aren't even doing basic internet research. And one could say, okay, she was a veteran and had like a background, a sterling background. Like they hired the right person. What are you complaining about? Well, this is where DHS gets himself in trouble again, which is they then issued a statement after her reporting saying she's lying about getting an offer. So they weren't like, hey, we actually thought she was a good reporter, and this is a mark of us actually welcoming ideological diversity, even though she's a liberal reporter who's written stories that are critical of us. No, they're like, she's lying. So then she does what? She posts on the internet the actual offer she got from DHS, and they've been silent since. So it's like these people are just, they're such pathological liars that they can't even lie in ways that help their cases. I mean, I have more to say about this training, but I mean, it's
let me add something about the training because it's a great point. So my understanding is their training is 47 days. And it's 47 days to honor the 47th president, not because
it's now 42. But it was 5 months before that.
Oh, I see. They scaled it back 5 more days. Oh, that's reassuring.
Well, Jason, here's a question for you though. Of those now 42 days that used to be 5 months, how much time do you think they get trained on de-escalation?
That was exactly the point I was going to make because my guess is that they have some amount of classroom training. But mostly I bet what they're doing is they're probably in that amount of time training around expected ideal scenarios. You are entering a home, you are securing somebody that you've been sent in to get, probably very limited variables thrown into that. Highly unlikely that their training involves crowd control, that their training involves dealing with any of these variables. And the reason I say that is because when I was getting ready, let's see, I went through training to become an Army officer over 20 years ago now. And so we went through all this training prior to deploying overseas. And in that training, we would have variables thrown in. First of all, you would have they probably have people playing the person that they're supposed to arrest or detain or whatever, who are probably
Stream Element says, find me in other places: Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. Old Mage Guy on TikTok as Mage.
Playing all sorts of other variables that would be thrown on the battlefield. There would be people there playing reporters or people saying they were reporters. And we had to make, remember what the environment in Afghanistan and Iraq was like at this time. We had to make split-second decisions as this person was wearing very bulky clothes, and maybe it looked like they could have explosives under their jacket. And another person would come up and just be like an irate civilian on the battlefield, and people would make mistakes. We would, and we were put in these situational training exercises, and when you're going through training, you'd make mistakes. I saw officer candidates and cadets zip tie somebody who was supposed to be a reporter. I saw folks shoot the wrong people, right? And the reason for that was because they were emphasizing that they wanted us to make those mistakes in training so that they could chastise us, correct us, run it through the scenario again with different variables so that when we went overseas, we would be less likely to make those mistakes. And 42 days, I promise you, I mean, we trained for like 4 years.
Right.
So,
well, think about anything, anybody who's listening to this, think about anything you've learned that's of any significance. And this is of the highest significance because it involves life or death. Like, is 42 days ever enough? I went to pasta school for 60 days. And honestly, like, my pasta ain't that good. That was 60 days of just making one little thing, so it's like, what? It's like, that's not a lot of time, man. And you know what? The Atlantic says it's 4 hours of de-escalation specific training that they get of those 42 days. So, I mean, that's a joke.
Do you know what you can do in 4 hours of de-escalation? You can teach people how to check the box so that they have legally covered their ass,
which they clearly
tried to de-escalate.
Yeah, they aren't even.
All right, hey, big speed bump over here on my side, so I've got a few things I need to do real quick. Well, / figure out. I will return.
Been doing that. We'll get to the videos. I've watched nonstop videos of these creeps. These are people who are escalating. Like they're not even checking the boxes because they know they have impunity. Let's deal with the Second Amendment here, Jason. Trump had an exchange with a reporter yesterday where he said, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. The reporter says, what about the Second Amendment? He repeats, you can't walk in with guns. This has been repeated many times. This is a clip from, way back in 2025, Jason. 2025. This is him talking about the DC concealed carry law.
Question is on crime prevention. Would you be open to expanding the national concealed carry to apply to DC like it does in other states like Texas?
Yeah. Well, they have it in some states and they feel strongly about it. As you know, I'm in favor of it. People have to protect themselves. I'm a Second Amendment person, very simply. People have to be able to protect themselves.
And just as a reminder, this is him on January 6th. I don't effing care that they have weapons. He says they're not here to hurt me. Taking the effing mags, meaning the magnetometers, away. And so this is not your Second Amendment, Jason. It's not my Second Amendment. Listener, it's not your Second Amendment. This is a Second Amendment only for people with political beliefs that they like.
If you are listening to this and you know somebody who is a big Second Amendment person, like they have T-shirts that say shall not infringe, their laptop sticker says will not comply, that sort of thing, you gotta make sure they understand that this is kind of their moment, not to brandish their weapon, but to get involved in the thing that they've been talking about as a big part of their personality for years. Like if you're that kind of person, you've been telling your friends for years that the reason that you have guns is because one day there might be a tyrannical government that will disarm people and then execute them, or not allow people to exercise their First Amendment rights. And look around, this is happening. So you need to tell your friends who are big Second Amendment people, but have also been big Trump folks, that if they want to be proven right to you and all the other friends who have been acting like they've been nuts for years, that there's a peaceful political movement that they might want to join.
Yeah, and I could read all the clips, but a lot of these gun rights groups have come out against Trump on this. Even Dana Loesch, who I think used to be at the NRA, is some of this is, we could parse that language, like it's clearly not as strident as they would be if this were under a Democratic president, but it's not nothing. But we have so much more to talk about, Jason. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the pressure on Trump to fire people like Stephen Miller, Kirstie Noem, his moves on Bovino. We've got a lot of clips of the ICE agents in the field. We'll talk about that, obviously, with a real expert. And so we've got a lot more to do here, and we'll be back after this break.
ED is more common than you think and simpler to treat than ever. Through HIMS, you can connect online with a licensed provider to access personalized treatment options discreetly and on your own terms. Through HIMS, you can access personalized prescription treatment options for ED if prescribed. HIMS offers access to ED treatment options ranging from personalized products to trusted generics that cost 95% less than brand names if prescribed. You shouldn't have to go out of your way to feel like yourself. HIMS brings expert care straight to you with 100% online access to personalized treatments that put your goals first. This isn't one-size-fits-all care that forgets you in the waiting room. It's your health and goals put first, with real medical providers making sure you get what you need to get results. Think of HIMS as your digital front door that gets you back to your old self, with simple 100% online access to trusted treatments for ED and more, all in one place. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/majority. That's hims.com/majority for your free online visit. hims.com/majority. Featured products include compounded drug products, which the FDA does not approve or verify for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information. Actual price will depend on product and subscription plan. Resolutions come and go, but growth, real lasting growth, takes time. That's why I love that Nutrafol isn't promising a miracle in 30 days. They're here to help you grow your hair and confidence from within, one day at a time. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. Nutrafol has multiple formulations designed to target the many root causes of thinning, like stress and hormones, as they evolve throughout different life stages and lifestyles, such as from post-childbirth to menopause, giving your body what it needs to grow. Nutrafol supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF content certified, and clinically tested to measure results in growth, quality, and strength, helping you reach your hair goals with confidence. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code MAJORITY. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code MAJORITY. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code MAJORITY.
Well, there have been a parade of senators who have taken a step in the right direction here. Like I refuse to lower my standards, but we'll take these one at a time. Here's Senator Tillis, who I think we talked about last week.
To then think that we can move on before this has been adjudicated.
Senator, do you have confidence in Secretary Noem?
None at all. No, she's. I've tried to maintain confidence, but look, I've done and we'll be sharing this information. We've done a Trump 1, Trump 2 comparison of disaster relief. There's no comparison whatsoever. Trump 1 was right on with disaster recovery. You think about Matthew and Florence, and this one, she's not even handling the other part of her job. I mean, at one point she thought FEMA should be eliminated. To give you an idea of how incompetent I think she is, she actually thought FEMA should be eliminated. And when she had a FEMA director said he didn't think that was a good idea, she fired him within 24 hours. Now she understands that that is an important part of her job. These are like amateurish assistant manager sort of thought processes going into somebody who's a secretary in a cabinet level position. It's unacceptable.
Does she need to step down? Does she need to?
Stephen Miller is in the same boat. This guy, after doing the stupid comments he made about Greenland getting the president in a difficult circumstance, is one of the people that came out publicly and said that this guy was a terrorist before he had even talked with anybody on the ground. And that's clearly not the case now. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, Stephen Miller never fails to live up to my expectations of incompetence.
Why do you think Secretary Noem be fired?
I'm going to leave that up to the president. I can tell you, if I were president, neither one of them would be in Washington right now.
But do you think Noem should step down?
I think Noem needs to decide what, I think if Noem looks at her body of work, I could not be, if I were in her position, I can't think of any point of pride over the last year. She's got to make her own decision, or the president does, but she has taken this administration into the ground on an issue that we should own. We should own the issue of border security and immigration, but they have destroyed that for Republicans. Something that got the president elected, they have destroyed it through their incompetence.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Have a good evening.
I mean,
I'll give you one guess whether that fella's running for re-election.
Yeah. Well, Murkowski, to her credit, did call on Noem to step down.
She did.
And I mean, we could parse, this language. I mean, there's been a parade of interesting statements from both political and non-political actors.
The poor president is advised by all these stupid people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or my personal favorite is the OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman, who issues a statement saying that he has lines and, like even he has to speak out when, justice calls for it. And then he inserts a line into the statement like, our very strong President Trump, like it's like this almost dear leader comment. And then he devotes almost as much space to how he refuses to be reactionary and bow to pressure from the mob, whether it's the liberals or the right. And I'm like, what is this statement? Like,
here's what I'll say about Tillis and Altman. I mean, I made fun of Tillis, but let's be fair. Like, if you're actually trying to persuade Trump of something, the reality is, like, you and I will never persuade Donald Trump of anything.
No.
And if you're and so the reality is, like, what I'm sure Tillis and what I'm sure Sam would, what I'm sure Altman would say if they were here is, I'm actually trying to get the guy to do something. And you can't get Donald Trump to do anything unless you first spend 5 minutes blowing smoke up his ass. That is not untrue, So at least Tillis for sure. I should give more credit to.
Yeah, Altman. That read to me as like a cover your ass.
I didn't see the Altman thing.
My employees are mad at me. That's how I read that. Is like, I think people were finally pissed at him. Now, the question of Stephen Miller's future has been raised, and it's interesting to say, like, is he going to survive this? I think he's going to survive, and Senator Lindsey Graham agrees too. This is what he had to say about all of this. Maybe. No. Okay.
As to Stephen Miller, to my colleagues who believe that you can convince Donald Trump that Stephen Miller is a liability for him, good luck with that. When this clock strikes 12 on the Trump era, there'll be a few people walking out the door with Donald Trump. Stephen Miller will be in that group. So I want everybody to know on the Republican side that Stephen Miller is not the problem. Sanctuary cities is the problem.
There's so much going on there. Right? I mean, that's like, he probably isn't wrong, and he probably understands. I mean, what's mostly going on there is he's like, look, you may think, like, the rest of you may think that you're saving face by attacking Miller and not Trump, and you're going to make yourself okay. But Lindsey Graham is like, but I want you, Stephen Miller, to know that I, Lindsey Graham, understand that you are probably not leaving, and that you're the one who pretty much points Trump at the people that you have the power to be like, get him. You know, that guy said bad things about you. And that's Lindsey Graham being like, hey, it was Stephen, it was him. You know, it was the other guy.
Well, Ileana Garcia, who is the co-founder of Latinos for Trump, said, I do think that he will lose the midterms because of Stephen Miller, speaking about Trump losing the midterms. You know, I think Graham is right. I think Miller is there till the lights go out. But Bovino seems to be somewhere under a bus out in the outskirts of Minnesota because Trump basically threw him under the bus. He look, the things that should happen to this guy are not in the cards yet, but this is what Trump had to say about Bovino.
Now, the message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you know, you make little changes. You know, Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here.
Well, yeah, he is a pretty out there kind of a guy. You know, I saw Keith Ellison did an interview where he made a great point, which is like, this is the largest deployment of Border Patrol or ICE anywhere ever, and it's not a border state. It's not even a state with a statistically significant immigrant population. It's just retribution. So I'm not surprised that Trump is now eager to throw. What was the name of the guy who George W. Bush put in charge of, like right away when they were taking over Iraq?
Paul Bremer.
Paul Bremer, yeah,
Bremer.
You know, and then there was another guy who, like, he put in charge of FEMA. You're in New Orleans now,
Brownie,
yeah, the guy who, like, had been he had raised horses or something. You know, I don't know what Bovino's background is, but he's basically playing that role here. He's like, we screwed everything up, so we'll just be like, it was this guy. That was the problem. Anyway,
I am struck by, okay, there's part of my brain that's like, okay, immediate de-escalation of everything is important for the city and for safety and all that. And then there's another part of me that is like, we cannot lower our expectations here or our guard.
Right.
Because first of all, the guy who's coming in has been credibly accused of taking a $50,000 bribe, and somehow he's the adult in the room now. Like, this is the guy he was.
Also, that guy who's coming in has been a major, like, I think, is he on the board or he stands to make a lot of money from the private prison companies whose stock went way up as a result of all the new detainees by ICE. So yeah, there's still problems.
They're still blocking the local investigation. They're still not releasing information about these guys. They're still not having a thorough investigation of this. All the people who lied, pretty much, I mean, Bovino still has a job and the other people still have the other jobs that they had. So there's still impunity. So, like, it's not like everybody's like Trump retreated, or, you know, there's also reporting that's like, you know, Trump is like finally seeing his ways. It's like, to say this is the bare minimum would be charitable. Like, we haven't even met the bare minimum of what should be required here. It's not even close. So yes, it is good that this guy Bovino is gone. It is good that Trump seems to be somewhat taking a step back, but we have a laundry list of basic things that we need to happen coming out of this. and we haven't even checked one of them off the list, in my opinion. Like, we aren't even close to that yet. There have been a lot of clips circulating about ICE. I've watched a ton of them. I'm sure you've watched a ton of them too, listeners. I imagine you've been.
What if starting a dropshipping business didn't feel so complicated anymore? With AutoDS, everything works in just a few clicks. You import products instantly with one click. Pricing, images, descriptions, it's all done. AutoDS AI doesn't just help you build a store. It fills it with winning products, already selected to sell. And once orders start coming in, fulfillment is completely automated for you. No order management, no supplier headaches, no daily micromanaging. And your stock, it updates automatically as well, along with your pricing. Your pricing also starts to adjust automatically, so there's no suppliers to chase. No late nights managing orders, no manual busy work. You're not babysitting a store, you're scaling the system. This is what modern dropshipping looks like. Try AutoDS for just $1 and see how fast it really works.
Just west of Minneapolis, where a driver says they began recording after witnessing a car crash between an ICE vehicle and another car.
Shame on you.
Listen, have y'all not learned from the past couple of days? Have you not learned?
Learned what? What's our lesson here? What do you want us to learn?
Following federal agents.
Give me my phone back. Oh, you can't take. Shame on you.
DHS tells CNN that they told the woman multiple times to move her car and that she could film across the street. That ICE agent's strong objection, let's call it, to being filmed is something we've seen in several other videos, including this one from Portland, Maine. That's the latest state to receive this ICE enforcement surge.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
You know, I'm watching all these, like that guy who is wearing a mask so you can't know who he is. And I'm just thinking about how, you know, we never wear masks overseas, but to be fair, like, we were going to retreat, you know, after operations. Most of us were going to go back inside our bases and stuff. And then we were going to go home to another country. But most of our translators did not cover their faces. And they all lived, like, they didn't live on post, most of them, in Afghanistan. So the whole, like, they have to cover their faces or they'll be at risk. Like, they're not going to be at risk of physical harm any more than any other law enforcement officer. They're just going to be embarrassed and ashamed.
We've talked a lot about the face coverings. It's like there's so much more going on here too. It's like this one guy is like, you're on a list that you're a domestic terrorist. He's taking, for folks who are just listening, he's taking a photo of her license plate. The other video I think is the most illustrative. He's like, have you not learned your lesson? And again, like, I am blown away by the discipline and the savvy of these people. The woman is like, what lesson do you want me to learn?
Yeah,
Such a great follow-up question.
Instead of just getting
Goes to
mad,
her.
she's like, come on, say more.
Yeah, I'm blown away by these people, and I can't remember if I said this last week, but you know, longtime listeners will know I always like to make fun of the hypothetical purple-haired Oberlin grad, but you know, shout out to the purple-haired Oberlin grads. They've been out there in the streets and they've been savvy out there. The people, you know, this can't just be an effort by the hardcore activists, and they've been leading the way, you know, and there's been such discipline here. Like, inevitably, whenever there's going to be a ton of people on the streets, there's going to be some stuff that is messy and probably undisciplined. But I've seen so little of that. I've seen so much discipline, so much savvy, and so much courage. You know, for a lot of these people to go out there knowing that these ICE agents are going to push them to the ground, that they could be in front of a gun, they could get shot, and then they continue to do it. I think is incredibly admirable.
It's also, you've got folks constantly saying, and we're going to talk to Javad in a minute about this, but you've got all these folks saying, well, you know, Obama and Biden and all of them, they deported a lot of people and nobody was out there disrupting ICE's operations and having organized signal chats to let people know where ICE is and stop them. And you know what? There's a pretty big difference. One, they were giving people due process. Two, they were deporting criminals. And
Yes.
the reason that people are interested in trying to make it harder for ICE to do, I'm not even going to say their job. I will just say do what it is they're doing, because I don't think they're doing their job. I think they're doing well beyond that. Is because they are, as the folks in Minneapolis keep saying, trying to deport their friends and neighbors,
Yes.
not criminals, not people they want out of their community, just, kids and adults and people who are just, basically Americans. And, if you don't do that, nobody's going to disrupt your activities.
Well, you talked about that. The Wall Street Journal reported on the Cato Institute report. Cato Institute is a libertarian think tank, usually associated with the right, but I know they would say and have earned the ability to be more nuanced about that. They're very good about sticking to the libertarian line. They did it on tariffs. They've certainly done it here on immigration. They issued a report that kind of, I think, is a follow on to what we talked about last week, which is like, what's going on here? Who are these people that the Trump administration has been arresting through ICE? And I'm just going to read extensively from this, and then we'll take a break and hear from our expert. But this is what they said. Mr. Trump campaigned on a promise to deport criminal migrants, the worst of the worst, as the Department of Homeland Security put it. That policy has public support, but the migrant roundup has become far broader. Last week, Homeland Security Secretary Noem posted on social media have arrested over 10,000 criminal illegal aliens who are killing Americans, hurting children, and raining terror in Minneapolis. Overall, Ms. Noem says Immigration and Customs has removed murderers, pedophiles, rapists, gang members, and terrorists. She told CBS that 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes. It started out that way. At the beginning of 2025, 87% of ICE arrests were immigrants with either a prior conviction or a criminal charge pending, according to ICE data obtained by the Deportation Data Project. Only 30% of those arrested at the beginning of 2025 didn't have either a criminal conviction or pending charge. But the criminal share of apprehensions has declined as the months have gone by. By October 2025, the percentage of arrested immigrants with a prior conviction or criminal charge had fallen to 55%. Since October, 73% taken into ICE custody have no criminal conviction, and only 5% had a violent criminal conviction, according to the Cato Institute review of ICE data. So it's getting worse and worse and worse, Jason, as they triple the amount of ICE agents, which is about to happen, and they try to hit this 1 million deportation goal they have, and they only got to quote unquote in air quotes got to 400,000 last year.
So before we go to the break, for those folks at home, I mean, the purpose of this podcast is to equip you with things you can say to people you're trying to persuade in your life. It's when people bring up, Obama deported this many, Biden deported this many. It's a really easy to tell the story of what happened here, which is when they started, ICE was doing pretty typically what had been done in prior administrations. And then somebody, probably Stephen Miller and Trump and Kristi Noem and others, realized that they had a political problem, which is they had on the campaign trail thrown out really big numbers. And we know this, they were saying publicly they needed to up the numbers. And that's where you get to, why is it that you didn't protest Obama and you do protest this? Because the reason Obama's numbers were high, but nowhere near as high as the numbers that you're putting up now, is because Obama was actually doing what Trump said he was going to do, which is he was actually only deporting the worst of the worst. He was actually deporting the people who were criminals, who were making the country less safe. And you know what? There's not that damned many of those people. The vast majority of people who are here undocumented are actually making America a better, safer place. And they had to cut into that bone. They had to cut deep into the meat of people who are actually making this place better in order to reach these political numbers. And that's how we got to where we are.
Well, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to hear from Javad.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality right now.
Switch to TurboTax. File free in the app by 2/28. All 100% free. Now this is taxes.
Go to dupe.com and paste any product URL or even upload a photo, and it'll instantly show you similar items for way less. There's also an app and a browser extension if you want to make it even easier. No account needed, totally free. Start saving money with dupe.com today.
All right, Jason. So I think a good place for us to send it to Javad is this clip.
Well, before you do that, let me introduce him.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So, welcome back, Javad. Javad Khazali is the co-founder of Khazali Wersch. It is a St. Louis-based law firm that focuses on civil rights, immigration, and litigation. Soon after the September 11th attacks, Javad joined the Department of Justice, where he worked with the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And for nearly a decade, he was assigned to the DOJ and then the ICE National Security Law Division. His expertise was using immigration laws to prosecute terrorists, terrorist financiers, and aliens engaged in espionage and other criminal acts. And as such, he has advised ICE on how to execute their operations while complying with the law. This was under the, I think, Bush and Obama administrations. So, Javad, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me again.
Well, yeah, Jason, we have this clip, and Jeremy hopefully found it, of this older couple, retired couple, just describing their interactions with ICE officials in Minnesota.
ICE agents who had the audacity to come and try to arrest and kidnap people leaving church on a Sunday morning. We turned into a parking lot and were greeted by approximately 4 unmarked ICE vehicles with agents who immediately stopped us and pointed semi-automatic weapons in our face, asked us to roll down the windows, threatened us multiple times with arrest. I mentioned to them, or I asked them if they had a warrant for my arrest. They said, we don't need one. And they continued to threaten us multiple times, pointing guns at my wife and I's face.
And we were kind of trapped because we had come in and they jumped, they came toward us right away with their guns. And so the only way out was really to back up too.
Jan was